There we go. All right, and I'm going to share my screen. Oops, let's back one up. There we go.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this evening. Tonight, the Invading Species Awareness Program presents the Water Soldier Removal Workshop with Robert McGowan. So before we get started, I'm just going to go over a few housekeeping items. So the webinar is starting now, and it's going to go, we have time till 7:30. It might be a bit shorter than that, but it can go up to 7:30 with a Q&A period at the end. And again, throughout the presentation, just enter your questions into the chat box, and we'll answer those at the end of the presentation at that Q&A period. And before we get into the introduction of our speaker this evening, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of who and what the Invading Species Awareness Program is. So in 1992, the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters, in partnership with the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, established the Invading Species Awareness Program in order to address the increasing threats posed by invasive species in Ontario. Our objectives are to generate education and awareness of aquatic and terrestrial invasive species, address key pathways contributing to introductions and/or spread, and facilitate monitoring and early detection initiatives for invasive species found within Ontario. So we have several different programs that continually evolve, especially within this past year, as much of our programming has become virtual, just like this presentation this evening. So one of our programs that the Invading Species Awareness Program has been and is involved with for several years now is the Water Soldier Monitoring Project of the Trent Severn Waterway. And tonight's expert speaker, Robert McGowan, has been instrumental in the growth and success of this program over the past few years. Rob is the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters and Invasive Species Awareness Program Management Technician. He is the lead for monitoring, surveillance, and control of water soldier populations on the Trent Severn Waterway and private ponds across Ontario. And so with that, I will go ahead and pass things over to you, Rob, and I'll just stop sharing my screen so you can begin to share yours.
Thanks, Riley.
No problem.
Now, thanks for joining me today, Riley, and welcome everybody. If anybody knows how bad Water Soldier is, it's our viewers and you, Riley. Riley was my assistant last year, monitoring the Trent Severn Waterway, and it's great that we can have this workshop to give the landowners and agencies the tools to manage Water Soldier themselves. And tonight we're going to be going through a bit of that and telling you the steps you can take to manage Water Soldier. And so I will start to share my screen, and we'll get into the overview for the, there we go. Overview for,
I can see that.
You can see this?
Yeah, that looks good.
So we'll get into the overview, what we're going to go through tonight and explain to you how you can manage Water Soldier on the Trent Severn Waterway. This workshop is specifically geared towards Trent Severn Waterway, and we have another workshop that will be running July 13th that will be more broader for Ontario waterways. So this one is for the federal waterway, the Trent Severn Waterway, and the webinar on July 13th will be a broader Ontario waterway management for Water Soldier. So we're going to get into some background on what Water Soldier is, the introduction of the Prevention and Response Plan. And this is the document that complements the Invasive Species Act, which is going to allow landowners and agencies to manage Water Soldier themselves. We'll get into the conditions you'll have to follow in order to manage Water Soldier, and then some best management practices for managing Water Soldier in Trent Severn Waterway. And then we'll just touch on some health and safety tips, seeing that we'll be, if you do choose to manage Water Soldier, you'll be working around water and you can always pose some issues. Okay, so just a bit of background. So Water Soldier is an invasive aquatic perennial plant that is native to Europe and Northwest Asia. The only known wild populations in North America occur in Ontario within the Trent Severn Waterway, in the Black River near Sutton, Ontario, where we haven't found any plants since 2016 after the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, Aurora District, took quick action and rapid response and did a great job treating that and eradicating it. And the newly discovered population in Red Horse Lake, north of Gananoque. Prior to being regulated as a prohibited invasive species under the Ontario Invasive Species Act, water soldier was sold for use as an ornamental plant in water gardens, which is the most likely source of its introduction into the wild. Since 2014, the Water Soldier Working Group has been involved in monitoring and eradication efforts to rid Ontario's public waters and private ponds of water soldier. So why is it a problem? Well, water soldier is a problem because it forms dense mats of floating vegetation, creating stagnant waters. It crowds out our native vegetation, and that results in decreased plant biodiversity. Water soldier has the potential to alter surrounding water chemistry, which may harm phytoplankton and other important aquatic organisms. The dense floating mats of water soldier hinder our recreational activities such as boating, angling, and swimming. And the sharp serrated leaf edges can cut swimmers and individuals who handle water soldier plants, and you should take caution when you come in contact with the plant. So how to identify water soldier? So water soldier appears as two different forms, a submergent form and an emergent form. The submergent form overgrows the bottom of the littoral zone and has long, bright green, brittle, spirally twisted, mature leaves that have a serrated margin of sharp spines. The emergent form breaches the water surface and has stiff, erect leaves with serrated spines on the margin as well. Both forms of water soldier produce turions and offsets, which are its main means of reproduction. The water soldier leaves can grow up to 40 centimeters long, are sword-shaped, bright green, and have those sharp spines. And the leaves form a large rosette at the base or group of leaves that are arranged in a circle. The flowers, if present, are white with 3 petals, which flowering plants in Ontario is very rare. And the roots can be lightly rooted, but aren't always attached to the substrate. So this is a floating plant, and the roots come down, and they're usually just lightly rooted into the substrate, which leaves it open to floating away with wind and wave action and wake action. And so the plants can be found in growing in water as deep as 5 meters, but usually found between 0.5 and 1.5 meters. Mature water soldier plants produce offsets and turions, which are similar to those of a household spider plant. And these structures are their main means of reproduction. So I just want to touch base on some similar species to water soldier that you'll find in the Trent Severn Waterway. So the first one is tape grass, also known as wild celery or eelgrass, and is similar in appearance to water soldier in its submergent form, mainly because of the basal rosette. So as you can see right here, all those leaves are forming from that one spot. Tape grass is widely distributed across the Trent Severn Waterway. So the leaves are clustered at the base. They're straight, thin, and ribbon-like. They are entirely submerged with the upper part sometimes floating on the water surface depending on the depth and length of the plant. They are about 24 inches long on average and about 1 inch wide. The main way to differentiate water soldier from tape grass is the margin of sharp spines on the margin of the leaf that would come up the side here. So tape grass, there are no spines, it's very smooth. So that's an easy, quick way to figure out if you're dealing with water soldier or you're dealing with tape grass or wild celery. Tape grass does flower, but it doesn't look anything like the water soldier flower. They're very numerous and very small and usually floating on top of the water surface. The next species that is most commonly mistaken for water soldier are the arrowhead species. And there's a few different species of arrowhead that are in the Trent Severn Waterway. So there's common arrowhead, also known as duck potato. There's broadleaf arrowhead. So the common arrowhead is a perennial aquatic plant and is widely distributed in the Trent Severn Waterway. This this aquatic plant is quite distinctive with its arrowhead-shaped emergent leaves. These emergent leaves slightly resemble the emergent form of water soldier. So if you're seeing arrowhead from a distance, it can really look like a population of water soldier. But as you get closer, the real arrowhead shape of that leaf is the distinguishing factor to separate it from a water soldier to arrowhead. The leaves are arrowhead shaped, about 20 inches long and 5 inches wide, and it blooms these flowers in mid to late summer. And again, there will be no sharp spines on the margins of the leaves. So those are just two species that I wanted to mention, especially if you're tuning in to actually go out and manage water soldier. We want to make sure that you have the correct species that you're managing. So these are two of very common species that are mistaken for water soldier. So I want to provide you with details about the provincial response plan that has been developed for water soldier. And this is a document that complements the Invasive Species Act. So water soldier is an aquatic plant that has been listed as a prohibited species under the Provincial Invasive Species Act. Under this act, it is illegal to import, possess, deposit, release, transport, breed, grow, buy, sell, lease, or trade this species in water soldier in Ontario. So water soldier has historically been a desirable aquarium and water garden plant, and these designations limit the possibility of introduction and spread of water soldier in Ontario. Since control techniques consist of possessing, transporting, and releasing the plants, prior to the introduction of the Prevention and Response Plan, you would need to receive an authorization under the Invasive Species Act if you wanted to carry out these tasks. This new Prevention and Response Plan lays out the provisions and guidelines of who can perform control for water soldier without the need for an authorization under the Invasive Species Act. So the purpose of the Prevention and Response Plan is to authorize certain activities otherwise prohibited by the Invasive Species Act in order to monitor, limit the spread, manage, control, and eradicate water soldier from Ontario. It also identifies the persons and groups authorized to perform this control, and it identifies the activities and conditions to possess, transport, and deposit water soldier in order to limit the need for obtaining authorizations. So who's eligible? There are 5 main categories of people who are eligible, or groups, and that's specific entities and groups. So that would be, for example, the Invading Species Awareness Program. We would be a specific entity or group. Waterfront property owners, probably some of you watching now. Property owners with ponds and water gardens. So people who have a pond and maybe have purchased water soldier for an ornamental plant and it's gone out of hand, they would be able to utilize this prevention response plan. Hydroelectric dam operators, which there's quite a few on the Trent Severn Waterway. So they would, when they're cleaning out their trash racks where all the aquatic plants and debris gets caught, they would have to actually physically move water soldier and dispose of it. And contractors. So if you had somebody who wanted to take action on water soldier on their waterfront property, but maybe wasn't able to, they could hire somebody out, and this contractor would be able to perform these duties as long as he follows the 6 conditions under the Prevention and Response Plan. So waterfront property owners. So you can only conduct work on shorelands directly in front of your property, or your property is fronted by a road allowance or shoreline reserve. So we encourage you to refer to your property survey to confirm that your property extends to the water. And if municipalities or third party owns the land between your property and the water, you would need to get their permission to proceed with removing the water soldier. So this is a pretty important piece. So when can the work be done? And this is why one of the main reasons why we have a Trent Severn Waterway workshop and an Ontario Waterway workshop. So for aquatic vegetation removal projects in the Trent Severn Waterway, the activity should be planned to occur between July 1st and September 14th, outside of sensitive fish spawning and turtle overwintering habitats. So in that, there's note down here is Ontario Waterways have a different working in water timing window, and that is from July 15th to September 1st. So this is just to prevent and protect fisheries habitat and sensitive species habitat. So there's this window where it's been deemed safe to remove water soldier and aquatic plants from the waterway without disturbing any fish redds or rearing sites or any species like turtles. So we're going to get into the conditions. The prevention response plan authorizes activities that are needed in order to complete the control and disposal of water soldier. These activities consist of the possession and transportation of the plants, as well as the disposal. There are some conditions that we will have to follow in order to carry out these activities under the PRP. Typically, before implementing control strategies for aquatic removal on the Trent Severn Waterway, you would need to ensure that you obtained all the necessary permits and all the regulations were followed. For all aquatic plant removals on the Trent Severn Waterway, a permit is usually needed and you need to contact Parks Canada to get a permit to do so. In addition, typically there would be requirements under the Ontario Invasive Species Act, since water soldier is classified as a prohibited invasive species. So this prevention response plan, you do not need to go to Parks Canada to get a permit as long as you follow these conditions. So for all other species of aquatic plants in the Trent Severn Waterway, you will still have to go get a permit. But water soldier is exempt under the prevention and response plan. So condition 1. So no person acting under the authority of this prevention and response plan shall remove water soldier from the water by means other than by hand pulling or human powered handheld device. For example, Colin there on the left using a rake to remove water soldier. So the plan does not apply for the use of other physical removal activities such as mechanical harvesting, dredging, or diver-assisted or boat-based suction harvesting. If you are seeking to remove water soldier through other physical removal activities, you must obtain a separate authorization under the Invasive Species Act. So this PRP, you can only hand pull or use a rake to remove the water soldier from the water. All other removal activities would require a permit from Parks Canada or the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. But in this case, this is Trent Severn Waterway, so it would be Parks Canada. Condition number 2. Reasonable precaution must be taken to ensure that water soldier is not deposited downstream or outside of the control or removal area during the course of the prevention, monitoring, control, or removal activities, in water structure or facility maintenance, or construction activities. So this means that you're responsible to ensure that you're not inadvertently spreading the plant to new locations while removing it. So yeah. So condition 3. All equipment and or watercraft used in infested waters during the water soldier prevention, monitoring, control, or removal activities must be inspected and cleaned of any water soldier or any other aquatic plants prior to the movement over land. This will help to prevent the spread or deposit water soldier to new locations. So this is pretty much common practice. I know a lot of us have heard about clean, drain, dry. Every time you're moving your boat from one water body to another, we should be ensuring that we're taking the weeds or any visible mud or animals, insects off of and out of our boats, draining all the standing water to prevent the spread of spiny water flea and zebra mussel veligers. And for best practices, you can power wash your boat off or leave it in the sun to dry for at least 7 days. So condition 4, if you're transporting water soldier over land for disposal, all water soldier must be contained or secured in a manner that ensures that no plants or plant parts are lost during transportation. So we use leaf bags a lot. We use black garbage bags. for my authorization with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, I'm required to use large Tupperware containers, and then I put those Tupperware containers into the cab of my truck, and then that ensures that there won't be any water soldier that's lost on transportation. Condition 5. So water soldier that is removed from the water must be disposed of in a manner that ensures that no part of the plant will re-enter the body of water or enter into any other body of water. You can see these these are the turions and offsets I was speaking about earlier. They're very small, and it's possible that these structures fall off when you're handling the plant. So if you're removing water soldier from your boat, because the population is a bit too deep to do it in the water, you're going to want to look for these structures in the bottom of your boat because they can easily fall off. They're just soft, fleshy plant material, and they like to drop down under your seats and in the back of your boat. So you just need to keep an eye out for those and make sure you're removing all of those. So condition 6. So all of those conditions were kind of things that you would probably do anyway, especially with you living on the Trans-Siberian Waterway or being on the Trans-Siberian Waterway and having dealt with water soldier since 2008. But this condition, you as an authorized person under the Prevention and Response Plan shall notify the ministry prior to initiating activities to prevent, monitor, control, or remove a water soldier from the Trans-Siberian Waterway or Ontario waters. So notification just needs to be made to the ministry email at invasive.species@ontario.ca, and they require a bit of information from you. So the information that they require from you is your location. So whether it be you give your address, your lot and concession number, or if it's your GPS coordinates, they're looking for where you're removing it from. The approximate size of the water soldier population. So if you can just get an estimate on the size of how much water soldier you have and how much you think you'll be removing, and the approximate time and duration of the these activities that you're going to be doing. This information will assist the ministry to document new locations and assess the status of prevention and control efforts of this invasive species in the province. And also it will inform our management for the fall. Just because you have removed the water soldier doesn't mean that it may not get a herbicide treatment. Under our best management practices, it's a hand removal with a follow-up herbicide treatment is the best course of action. So this is required if you're going to partake in the prevention and response plan. This is a condition you must do in order to remove water soldier from your waterfront property. So speaking of removing, if you're looking for resources to help you remove water soldier, the Invading Species Awareness Program has toolkits available for you to help manage your water soldier. The kit consists of an extendable pool rake with a thatching head on the bottom of it, which catches water soldier really well and holds on to it as you bring it up through the water column. It consists of leaf bags and gloves. So we could arrange, if you're interested in this, you can contact myself and I'll have my information up at the end, or the Invading Species Awareness Hotline, and you can request that you can have the leaf bags and gloves, but we're going to require the rake back. So you can borrow the rake for your removal efforts, but the rakes are kind of costly, and we're willing to lend them out, but we would ask that you return them to us at some point in time. So some best management practices for removing water soldier from the Trans-Siberian Waterway. So again, use an integrated management approach. So management approaches that include both hand pulling and herbicide application seem to be the most effective. So if you are on the Trans-Siberian Waterway, you remove water soldier, you've contacted invasive.species@Ontario. Sorry, I want to make sure I get that one right. invasive.species@ontario.ca will know that you've treated it. And then in the fall, when there's a herbicide treatment, your area still may get treated. We don't know what that looks like right now, but it's one of our best management practices. So I'm sure we'll follow through with what we say. So target control based on size of population and time of year. So this is a pretty important one. So we need to follow the in-water work timing window guidelines and Park Canada guidelines I spoke about earlier. So hand pulling the Trent Severn Waterway, July 1st to September 14th for individual plants in small groups, less than 25 meters squared. So that's 5 meters by 5 meters. Anything over 5 meters by 5 meters, you don't want to be tackling this by hand. It would be a very daunting task. I've managed populations like this by hand, and it is dirty, it's not fun, and it's always way more work than you think it's gonna be. So this is our recommendation. Anything that is less than 25 meters squared, you can hand pull or pull by rake. And then anything that's larger than 25 meters squared, 5 by 5 meters, we suggest a herbicide application. So, but with that said, any individual plants or floating unattached plants to the substrate can be removed as soon as possible. And preventing spread during control. So water current, wave action, wind action, all can dislodge plants and seeds and carry them to new areas. We need to take precautions to prevent the release of plants downstream during control. Depending on the location and situation, the use of temporary flowing barriers may assist with preventing dispersal. So I've done this in the past where I've had seine nets that I've enclosed the population with to make sure that when I'm pulling those plants out, nothing is kind of going rogue on me or getting away. And this is important because once you start pulling those water soldier plants out, that they usually, their habitat is soft, muddy sediments. So when you start pulling them, all that soft, muddy sediment plumes into the water column and fouls it. So it makes the visibility of the plants very difficult. So we want to make sure that we're doing a due diligence and preventing further spread of the plant. And again, cleaning all your equipment and watercraft after your removal efforts in order not to spread those either water soldier plants or offset centurions to new water bodies. There's a lot of information online for the best practices for cleaning your watercraft. So dispose of water soldier carefully. So we want to dispose of water soldier on dry land, ensuring no part of the plant will re-enter the body of water or any other body of water. I know we suggest 30 meters away from any other water body is a good suggestion. If transporting water soldier for disposal, it must be secured to ensure that no plants or plant parts are lost during transport. And handle with care. The leaves have those sharp serrated edges that can cut the skin, and use the proper safety gear. So gloves, I like to wear long sleeves when I'm removing water soldier, and even long pants, because it really it does cut you. And if you're managing a lot of it, you really don't realize how many scrapes you're getting until the end. And it's really unpleasant sometimes. And dispose of a water soldier. On dry land, 30 meters away from any water body. Make sure no part of the plant will re-enter the water body or any other water body. And if you're transporting them, make sure that your load is secure. And here we're focusing on target species. So native aquatic plants provide a food source and habitat for animals, fish, and aquatic organisms. They remove carbon dioxide from the water and produce oxygen via photosynthesis. Native aquatic plants act as a producer in the ecosystem since they produce their own food, as well as food for consumers of that ecosystem. The removal of these native plants would be detrimental to the water body's ecosystem services. And these plants should not be removed when targeting the removal of water soldiers. So as I said, these plants are really important. They help stabilize our shorelines. They improve our water quality. They produce oxygen for all the fish and animals that live in the water. They act as shelter for wildlife, and they're food for a lot of our waterfowl populations as well. So we really would like just to target water soldier and leave our native aquatic plants alone. So health and safety. I work on the water a lot, so I like to just give a few tips about working safe around water, because especially when you're doing physical labor, if you're in a boat, there's a chance of falling out. If you're in flowing water, there's a chance of falling down. If you're wearing waders, filling up with water. So wading in stationary or flowing water can be hazardous, particularly when either the depth or flows are excessive. So it's well known that if you fall into the water, the likelihood of drowning is higher if you're wearing waders, if you're not wearing a life jacket, and if you're alone, right? So we want to make sure we have a buddy, make sure we have a life jacket on, and try to stay safe as possible. Falling into the water from a boat also presents a hazard if you're managing water soldier from a boat. So please wear the appropriate personal flotation device approved by Transport Canada, Canadian Coast Guard, or the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. The following hazards may occur when you're working around water. Drowning, which wouldn't be good, and that's why we should wear a life jacket and have a buddy system. So somebody else out there with you, helping you manage water soldier, or just hanging out with you so you're not alone. Sunburn, heat stroke, heat exhaustion. We can easily prevent these from happening. Wearing a hat, wearing long sleeve shirts, drinking lots of water, and knowing your limits. If you feel like you're getting tired or too hot, the water soldier's not going anywhere. You can take a break and go back to it when you feel a bit better and feel rested. Weather can be a hazard. The sun, and with the heat that we've been having, these pop-up thunderstorms. So just keep your eye on the sky. We don't want to be around the water when a thunder and lightning storm hits. Lightning and water don't mix very well. Hypothermia, really it can be a problem. We're here in the summer though, so the water's a bit warmer, especially on the Trent Severn waterway. So it's not as much issue in those timing windows you have. And always be aware of your surroundings while working in and around water, and take the appropriate precautions to avoid any injury. And personal protective equipment. When working near and on the water, you can wear the appropriate fitted personal flotation devices approved by the federal agencies I mentioned. And before you start working, safety equipment, apply sunscreen, bug repellent, wear a hat, a long sleeve shirt. I like to wear water shoes, just so I don't have to be so tiptoe around in the water with all the zebra mussels and sticks and debris. So long sleeve shirt and long pants if you can, especially if you're pulling it water soldier into the boat. So here's some contact information if you have any further questions. So if you're looking for a toolkit from the Invading Species Awareness Program, you can call our hotline at 1-800-563-7711. Or you can contact me via email at robert_mcgowan@ofah.org. Condition 6 of the PRP, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry contact for you giving them the required information. So your location, the size of water soldier population that you'll be managing, and the date and time that you'll be doing that is invasive.species@ontario.ca. If you have any questions concerning the Trent Severn Waterway, you can contact Parks Canada at pc.trentsevern.pc@canada.ca. And if you're looking for more information on the Invasive Species Act and the Prevention and Response Plan, these are the websites that you can go to, and we will be posting this workshop on our YouTube channel, I believe. So that's all the information I have for you right now. I'll stop sharing my screen and throw it back to Riley. You're muted, Riley.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Now is the time that if you have any questions or anything you'd like to ask Rob, Water Soldier or Trent Severn Water related, you can add them into the chat box now. Again, this will be posted on our social medias. So if you're watching this later and you have questions, you can email or contact via that contact page, whatever question is appropriate for which contact person. So by all means, ask away right now, and we'll leave that open for a few more minutes before we close the session tonight. So not a whole lot of questions coming in just yet, Rob, but I'm going to wait a few more minutes just in case.
Oh.
There we go. Do you see that too, Rob, or do you want me to go
I
ahead
do
and
see
read
it. So I can read it. If one has waterfront property where the river is faster flowing, is Water Soldier a problem? So typically not. Water Soldier likes calm, stagnant back bay waters. If the water's flowing, it is a floating plant, and the current usually would take it down. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Trent Severn Waterway. We have issues with Water Soldier in the portion of the river that's known as Lake Seymour, Crow Bay, Percy's Reach. All of these parts of the waterway have back bays, soft muddy sediments, typically where you'd find your lily pads and arrowheads. That's where Water Soldier likes to go. But as we get further down past Glen Ross into Frankfurt, where the river tightens up and it's more channelized and is a bit faster moving water, we typically we really haven't found Water Soldier there because it's the flowing water. What would happen if Water Soldier was to get into that faster flowing water? It would probably just flow right down into the Bay of Quinte. And knock on wood, we haven't found it in the Bay of Quinte yet. That's a good question because searching for Water Soldier, we have a systematic monitoring program that we have, and some of these areas we just don't monitor because places like Ferris Provincial Park, it gets really fast flowing there. Down past Frankfurt, it gets fast flowing there. But there are spots that we still go and do reconnaissance because there's a fast flowing part near Ferris Provincial Park, but then there's a few back bays near Haig's Reach that we have found it. So it's important that we check those places. We have another question. Ben, is Water Soldier a problem in parts of the states or other provinces? That's a good question, Ben. So Water Soldier was the first known wild population in North America was in the Trent Severn Waterway. Since then, as I said earlier, we found population in Black River and Sutton. And most recently, we found population north of Gananoque in 2020. I know that there is a population of Water Soldier in Quebec, and there are possibly several private ponds with Water Soldier still in it in Ontario.
There's another one there, Rob.
I'll just finish up Ben's question.
Sure.
We've heard of it being in any of the United States. So this fingers crossed that we don't have to cross that bridge. Mm-hmm. So a follow-up question from if the property is upstream of known sites, what is the concern? If the property is upstream of known sites, if it's in the Trent Severn Waterway, upstream, depending on the wind could still push it upstream. If you're in a fast moving section, I wouldn't worry about it. The concern would be the wind moving it upstream if you're in a quieter area, or it being transported on a boat, or you're somebody managing it and not taking the precautions about making sure that they're doing their due diligence to make sure that no plants are floating away, probably won't float upstream. But if you have a really windy day on the Trent Severn Waterway, it could possibly float back up depending on where you are. And if you want to email me in with more specifics about where you are, I probably could answer that question a bit better.
All right, were there any more questions at this time? And feel free to put them in the chat now, or again, you can email anyone on that contact list with email questions. And thanks to those who have been asking some questions. These are great, great to add to this recording.
And if you feel like we don't get this out to our social media fast enough, and you feel like you want to watch it again, we'll have that other webinar on July 13th at 6:30 p.m. We'll be doing the same, essentially the same webinar, but it'll be more focused on Ontario waters versus just the Trent Severn Waterway.
All right, well, I think with that, we don't have any more questions coming into the chat box. So thank you for those who have joined. And if you're watching later, thank you for watching. And by all means, send us your questions whenever you have them. And thanks, Rob, for delivering the presentation this evening.
Oh, thank you for joining me, Riley. And thanks for everybody who joined.
All right, have a great evening, everyone, and stay safe.
Have a good night.
Bye now.